Good morning, Kuhner country. Okay, a lot of news to discuss, obviously, over the weekend, but one of the biggest stories is what is now happening between AOC, Alexandria Fidel Castro Cortez, and border czar Tom Homan. They are now locked in many ways in a battle of wills, and it is now a battle that really exposes the deep fault line between the Democratic Party and, frankly, the rest of the country. Not just the Trump administration, but the rest of the normal, sane part of the country. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is now saying she is the leader of la résistance, the resistance against Trump. And to show what a leader of the resistance that she is, she has now been giving webinars. Essentially, illegals get on their internets or their iPhones or their iPads, and they download AOC, where she then, in both English and in Spanish, is giving specific guidance, how-to instructions, detail by detail, blow by blow, on how illegal aliens can evade arrest, capture, or detention by ICE. She tells them they have to show certain warrants, what are the differences between certain warrants, they're entitled to a lawyer. She goes on in every single detail how they don't have to comply with these warrants, but maybe with those warrants. In other words, she's giving as many of them a heads up and explicit guidance how to evade ICE and how to evade detention or arrest. Now, it is clear by her behavior that she is aiding and abetting criminal behavior, and not just that, which is a crime, a felony. It's blatant. It's there. It's on the webinars. It's been videotaped. It's been recorded. It's there again and again and again. And furthermore, to add insult to injury, she has now come out and said that she is siding with MS-13 and Tren de Aragua. She is putting them, violent, criminal gangbangers, illegal aliens, above Americans, saying that Homan, ICE, and the Trump administration have no right to arrest or remove, and she mentioned specifically MS-13 or Tren de Aragua unless they have a quote-unquote warrant. Now, again, I don't want to rehash old ground. When Trump removed all these people in his first term, they didn't have a warrant. That was okay. When Obama did it, over 5 million deportations, no problem. Bill Clinton, 12 million deportations, no problem. George W. Bush, 10 million deportations, no problem. These were what they're called non-judicial removals. You're in here illegally, they round you up, they usually just give notice to an immigration court saying we've got 500 of these or 1,000 of these, and off they go. They are deported. Bye-bye, never to see them again. Although under Biden they all came back, but let that go. The point is, they're gone. They're deported. Now, you need a warrant for every single gangbanger. They need to have a trial. They need to have a lawyer. They need to be able to appeal. In other words, it will take centuries, and that's the point, to get rid of them. She now has come out and said, you don't have carte blanche, her words, carte blanche, to deport Tren de Aragua or MS-13. No warrant, you can't deport them. She's now openly siding with murderers, rapists, and foreign terrorists against her own country, against the United States of America. I'm telling you, it's sedition. It's treason. Tom Homan now has said he has had enough. Pressed by multiple media outlets, because she singled him out at a Queens town hall on Friday. She mocked Homan. She taunted Homan. She laughed at Homan. She was daring Homan to arrest her, saying what she did was constitutionally protected speech, and if he wants to get her, come and get her. She wants to be a martyr for the resistance because she ultimately wants to be president in 2028. And so she thinks if they arrest her, that will make her into a left-wing Democrat superstar. A modern-day version of Nelson Mandela. Homan now says he is very seriously considering arresting her. In fact, he is now asking the Department of Justice, how far has she crossed the line, and is this a case we can win in court? So, she wants to be arrested. She's begging to be arrested. Homan says he's seriously considering arresting her. You want to know the Kuhner man's opinion? Very simple. Arrest her now. If she wants to be a martyr, no problem. Let's make her a so-called martyr. It's time to put these Democrat seditionists in jail. You want to protect MS-13 and Tren de Aragua? You want to obstruct ICE and law enforcement? You want to aid and abet criminal behavior? No one is above the law. Arrest Sandy or Cortez now. AOC, if Homan's people are listening, she wants it. She's begging for it. Give it to her. Listen now to AOC at a packed town hall Friday, May 2nd, just a couple days ago, saying, you know what? Come and get me. If you've got the balls, come and get me. Roll cut 12, a mic.
Tom Homan, then acting director of ICE, said that he was going to threaten to refer me to DOJ because I'm using my free speech rights in order to advise people of their constitutionally guaranteed protections, and he may want to do it again today. And to that I say, come for me. You're going to have to come for me. Do I look like I care?
Okay. I mean, this is getting sickening. By the way, again, for the 500th time, illegal aliens, especially criminal illegal aliens, do not have constitutional protections. I don't know what planet you're living on. The Constitution is for citizens and legal residents of the United States. Our Constitution is not for the entire world. Okay? Maybe in your crazy Marxist, communist, anti-American thinking it is. But no. In the real world, a constitution is for its people and its legal residents. I've never heard of this theory that the constitution of any country, never mind our country, applies to people who have broken into our country illegally. Okay? So it's a fiction, and you know it's a fiction. But it's okay. She's now saying, come for me. She's basically saying, Homan is all talk, no action. Roll cut 12A. Mike.
We first did one of these seminars. Tom Homan, then acting director of ICE, said that he was going to threaten to refer me to DOJ because I'm using my free speech rights in order to advise people of their constitutionally guaranteed protections, and he may want to do it again today. And to that I say, come for me.
So that was on Saturday. Forgive me. The first cut was on Friday. She's now escalating it. She did another town hall. And so she's repeatedly now. She's not just daring him. She's double daring him. Well, Homan was on Bartiromo. And listen to what he said. Roll cut 13A. Mike.
Let's hope she's not educating the next person who gets out and murders a young college student in Georgia. I mean, these are bad people we're looking for. So she can call it education all she wants, but we all know it's about evading law enforcement. These people have been ordered removed. The people we're looking for right now have final orders. They're criminals. They're in the country illegally. A judge has ordered them removed. They become a fugitive. And these are the folks she's helping? So I've asked the Department of Justice to look at this. Where is the line on impediment? Where does that fine line so we can instruct ICE officers what they can do when people don't open the doors or try to evade their arrest? So I simply asked DOJ, give me a legal opinion, because every Department of Justice will interpret things differently. What is the legal opinion on impediment? And we'll see what happens.
Look, I wouldn't ask the DOJ. I would just do it. I'll be honest with you. When she's telling illegals not to open the door, which she has, when she's telling illegals you don't have to comply, which she has, when she's telling illegals that ICE is the equivalent of the modern day equivalent of the KKK and the Nazi Gestapo, and you have rights to stay in this country, that is active obstruction, impediment, if you want to call it, active instruction of ICE and federal law enforcement. It's a crime. And she's clearly aiding and abetting criminal behavior, which is a felony. The question now is, who will blink first? Listen now to Border Czar Tom Homan. Now, this was just a couple months ago on the Laura Ingraham show on Fox regarding these webinars that AOC has been doing over and over and over again. It's brazen. She's clearly now thumbing her nose at Trump, at ICE, at federal immigration law, at Homan in particular, where she is advising illegal aliens. Again, I want to stress this, including MS-13 in Tren de Aragua. And she's saying, don't cooperate. Don't even answer the door. And if you're an MS-13 gangbanger or an Tren de Aragua, I don't know, murderer or rapist or whatever, don't touch them. They cannot be deported unless they have a specific warrant from a judge. This is now, this so-called due process, and I put this in air quotes, that the Democrats are now inventing under the Trump second term. So, she's openly siding with MS-13, Tren de Aragua, murderers, child rapists, drug traffickers, and rapists over fellow American citizens. And she's giving them instructions on how to evade ICE. Homan is asked, are you going to arrest her? Because if this is not obstruction, if this is not aiding and abetting, if this is not impeding federal law enforcement, then I don't know what is. Listen now to Homan's response. Roll cut 13B, Mike.
And I sent an email today to the Deputy Attorney General. At what level is that impediment? Is that impediment? I'm not an attorney. I'm not a prosecutor. Is that impediment? Is that impeding our law enforcement efforts? If so, what are we going to do about it? Is she crossing the line? So I'm working with the Department of Justice and finding out where is that line that they cross. So maybe AOC is going to be in trouble now, but I need the AOG to opine on that. But because there's impediment is impediment, in my opinion. I'm not a prosecutor, but we need some further guidance on that. But again, if we have to take every federal dollar out of the city, we'll do it. I mean, we're done.
So the question now is AOC in real trouble? And look, I'll play the cut one more time. Sorry, I never like to replay cuts, especially so close together. But what AOC is essentially saying is, Homan is all smoke and no fire. That Homan is essentially I'm not saying he's not deporting illegals. Of course he is. But when it comes to going after the big fish, these seditionist, treasonous sanctuary city mayors or Democrat politicians like her who openly flout and defy federal immigration law and basically act as the lawyers for these scumbags who come into our country. She's basically saying, you don't have the guts. I want to play it again. She said it both on Friday and on Saturday in two separate town halls. This is the one on Friday, just a couple days ago. Roll in Queens. This was in Queens, New York, in front of a packed crowd of moonbats. Roll cut 12, a mic.
Tom Homan, then acting director of ICE, said that he was going to threaten to refer me to DOJ because I'm using my free speech rights in order to advise people of their constitutionally guaranteed protections, and he may want to do it again today. And to that I say, come for me. You're going to have to come for me. Do I look like I care?
She's begging for it. I'm telling you, she's asking to be arrested. She's really asking for it. I personally think she's got a serious screw loose. Okay, you want my honest opinion? Like most of these far leftists, most of these radical Marxist communist Democrats, because that's truly what they are now. And so, to me, if you can advocate, as she has, for wide open borders, for your country to literally be flooded with terrorists and criminals and murderers and transnational gangbangers and child sex traffickers, I think you're something sick in the head. And not only that, but she wants to give them all welfare. She wants to put every illegal, including criminal illegals, on welfare. So you're talking about someone who's a traitor, who despises and hates this country, and who, frankly, I think is mentally ill. To me, there's no question. And the narcissism of this woman, the constant craving of attention, the more radical she gets, the more FaceTime on television, the more radical, the more extreme, the more insane. And you can tell she's angling now to beat Chuck Schumer in a potential Senate primary. But the big prize for her is she now believes she's the heir to Bernie Sanders. That's why she and Bernie are doing this, attack oligarchy or whatever it's called, the anti-oligarchy tour. By the way, as they fly around on a $15,000 per hour private jet, $15,000 per hour on a private jet. So much for climate change, huh? So much for not emitting carbon into the atmosphere. You phony, you fraud, you. As they, I'm not kidding, as they eat caviar and shrimp and lobster and sip champagne on a private jet flying all over the country. But we're against the oligarchy. Right. You can look this up. Please don't take my word for it. When she first was elected to Congress and got a swanky pad apartment in Washington, D.C., apparently she didn't know what a garbage disposal was. She went, did a video, you can look this up, please don't take my word for it, and said, what is this funny sound? Like, is my apartment possessed? Is there a ghost or a demonic presence in my apartment? Okay, in this showdown, who do you side with? Tom Homan or Alexandria Fidel Castro Cortez, AOC, who likes to go as by Sandy Cortez. So, Tom or Sandy, who do you side with? Let me just read to you a couple of very quick messages on Messenger. And Larry in Leominster. Jeff, here's the important trick. They need to get AOC on multiple counts of wire fraud. The legal loophole of interstate crimes is you can put her through courts in red states, unlike committing a local crime where she'd have to be tried in New York. Well, that's a very good point, Larry. And that's the other thing. If Homan goes to war against her, and I hope he does, it shouldn't just be for her immigration crimes that she's committed. She's getting rich, and AOC's been getting rich fast. Fast. Put the IRS on her. Follow the money. Follow the money. Because someone's got to be paying her. when you are openly championing and advocating for MS-13 and Tren de Aragua, either you're severely mentally ill, or you're on the take, or a little bit of both. And so I'm with you, Larry. If you go after her all the way. This is from Scott on Messenger. And I can't disagree with Scott. I wish I could, but I can't. Jeff, AOC is playing this masterfully. She knows she can do anything she wants, and nothing is going to happen. Where is the hell that Homan said he was bringing to Boston? Where is the Epstein list? Where are the investigations into corruption in Congress? She knows that Republicans won't do anything. Well, look, Homan is now going to Pam Bondi. That essentially when he says, I'm going to the DOJ, he's going to the Attorney General. And he's saying, can we arrest her? And she's not giving him an answer. Honestly, if I was AOC, I would come to the same conclusion. They're all talk, no action. I think Homan, frankly, to be fair, I think Homan wants to pull the proverbial trigger. I think he wants to put her behind bars. I don't think DOJ is giving him the green light. That's just my take. Agree, disagree. 617-266-6868. Arrest her and arrest her now. But do they have the guts to arrest her? To me, that is the question. John in Dunstable. You're going to kick us off, John. Thanks for holding and welcome.
Thanks, Jeff, for taking my call.
My pleasure, John.
This is pretty aggravating,
Jeff. But Larry.
Okay, John. Wow, there was just. This is incredible. I mean, so within 5 seconds, John, you sounded like a normal human being, and then you sounded like, you know, one of these people that morphs their voices into a computer when they're calling you for ransom money, like in the movies. I swear, that's how you began to sound. So let's try it again with John. John, are you there?
Hello?
Go ahead, John.
All right, can you hear me, Jeff?
I can hear you. Are you being kidnapped? Are you being held in ransom by any chance?
I don't think that's going to happen, Jeff.
Okay, just the way your voice is coming across. So I want to make sure you and your family are safe. All right, go ahead. Go ahead, John.
I'm fine, Jeff. Larry's 1,000% right. And first of all, Jeff, illegals do not have constitutional rights. And what's going to happen, Jeff, if he arrests her in New York or Washington, there isn't a straight-laced judge or an honorable judge in either one of those two states. She's going to go in. If he grabs her at midnight, a judge will be in the courthouse waiting for her. She won't even be in for an hour, and she'll be out, no bail, she won't have to come up with any bail money or anything. I don't know what the answer is, Jeff. As much as I hate dictators, we fought wars against dictators. I don't know if President Trump has to turn into a dictator at this point of the game, because nothing is being done, Jeff. And this isn't a good situation. And AOC wouldn't last in a real prison 5 minutes. She would be crapping her pants, Jeff. She is a weak person that's robbing the country blind with Bernie Sanders and the rest of the communists. But something has to happen, and it's got to happen fast, Jeff, because we're losing big time, Jeff. God only knows what's going to be next.
Well, John, honestly, just to piggyback off of what you're saying, because you are so spot on, it's not even funny. She's spoiled. She's entitled. She's self-absorbed. She's narcissistic. She thinks the world of herself. She literally thinks the world revolves around her, which is, the very definition of a narcissist. And her whole biography is a lie. this whole working class shtick. And she grew up in one of the wealthiest counties in New York, in the state of New York. This, she comes from money. And she went to Boston University. She was a horrible student. Her degree, her major, if you can believe it, is in economics. The woman's an economic illiterate. And apparently was a horrible student, by the way, at Boston University. And it shows. And then, whatever, drifting through life, she does some kind of a part-time gig as a barista. And she decides to campaign as this barista who understands the aspirations and frustrations and needs of the working class. And from that point forward, the leftist media has deified, glorified her, really lied about her every step of the way, and they're anointing her now as the second coming. It's basically Bernie, Bolshevik Bernie, but in pantsuits. And now she just can't stop running her mouth. And I think the problem, to be frank, is not just the Republicans in Congress, although it is. It's not just maybe Tom Homan, who is biting off more than he can chew, we'll see, but it's Pam Bondi. And this is what Dave, our Western PA constitutionalist correspondent, messaged me on Messenger. Jeff, my question is, where is Pam Bondi? She's the Attorney General. She should come out and say to Homan, arrest her. And look, to me, that's the question now almost every day. Where is Pam Bondi? That's the question. So anyway, and look, there's a lot of other people that would be much better now as AG. I'm fully convinced of it. And every day that they dither, Trump loses momentum in order to deport these dangerous criminals who were allowed in illegally by Joe Biden. And, honestly, John, how does a member of Congress with a straight face brag that she gives specific advice and is urging and encouraging criminal illegal aliens, including some of the worst criminals, criminal gangbangers on the face of the earth, saying, no, evade them. No, I don't side with my government. I side with these illegals. No, they have every right to stay. Why should they be deported? And you're a member of Congress who's taken an oath to uphold the Republic and the Constitution? Ay. Seriously, ay. So it's that bad. It's truly that bad. Make an example out of her. I agree with you. Prison will break her. She won't last 2 days in prison. It's enough. She wants to be arrested. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, this is from Ken on Messenger. Good morning, Jeff. Well, good morning to you, Ken. Jeff, Pam Bondi isn't looking for a reason to arrest AOC. She's looking for a reason not to arrest AOC. That's my fear as well. It's starting to look that way. And I think AOC is sensing it. And that's why she's getting more brazen, more cheeky. Honestly, she's now openly thumbing her nose. And she's now daring, double daring. She's now taunting Homan, taunting ICE, taunting the DOJ. Basically, as she put it, come and get me. I'm waiting for you. Come and get me. Arrest me. If you have the cojones, come and put handcuffs on me. And the crowd just loves it. I mean, her far left supporters, or the crazy moonbats, they're just cheering this on every step of the way. 617-266-6868. Should Homan arrest AOC? And the bigger question in many ways, will he? Should he and will he? or is AOC right? That ultimately, and it's not maybe not even Homan's fault. It may be the FBI and the DOJ who don't have the stomach for it, but that ultimately they're all talk and no action. 617-266-6868. Linda in Medford. Thanks for holding, Linda, and welcome.
I wanted to say pretty much what you just said about phony and a fraud. Yes, she grew up in Westchester, New York. Her parents came here from Puerto Rico. The father was an architect. At one time, I guess they had two houses. He probably was doing one over to sell. The building she lives in the Bronx was owned by her father. And I think he owned another building in Queens someplace. I believe she went to private school, and she worked as a bartender to see what it was like to work. So I think if people can get all of this out and show what a phony and a fraud she is, that would be that would be a great opportunity to try and get rid of her. Also, she did own a Tesla, and those go for over $50,000. She went to a big time fundraiser in designer clothes that were thousands of dollars. So I think we should get this around every phone call every day on the show so people know.
Oh, you're right, Linda. She came from a privileged family. Look, I personally, I don't care if you come from a privileged family, but she's the one who does the whole working class hero shtick, right? She's the one that's lied about her background and her biography. You're completely right, Linda. And she's rich. I mean, now that she's a member of Congress, she has become rich. And people have noticed very expensive jewelry, very expensive fashion. I'm talking, she wears thousands and thousands of dollars worth of clothes. She travels all over the world. As I said, there's a private jet for her and Bernie when they do their so-called anti-oligarchy tour. So this is a woman that's living high on the hog. Where'd she get her money? On a $175,000 a year salary? I don't think so. So it's obvious, like a typical socialist and a typical communist, she's a hypocrite. They talk a big game about equality, but they just take and steal and steal. And, and now I want to know if she's in bed with the Mexican drug cartels. Because for her to be this strident on behalf of MS-13 in Tren de Aragua, it's not normal. It's not normal. Even if you notice, say like that clown, Chris Van Hollen, okay, the Maryland senator who visited Abrego Garcia, the wife beater, at the prison in El Salvador. Even he says, no, I'm not defending MS-13. No. I'm defending due process. It's the process. She's defending MS-13 in Tren de Aragua. So why would Sandy Cortez so go out of her way to defend some of the most vile, brutal criminals in the world? No, I agree with you, Linda. She's not that crazy. She may be crazy, but she's not that crazy. And she was born into the good life, and she likes the good life, and she wants to remain having a good life. Follow the money. I'm with you, Linda. Follow the money. Thank you for that call. 617-266-6868. Agree, disagree. A, should Homan arrest her, since she's now basically begging to be arrested? And will he? Or do you think Pam Bondi and Kash Patel just don't have the stomach to do it? 617-266-6868. Bob in Raynham. Thanks for holding, Bob, and welcome.
Hey, Jeff, how's it going?
Good, good, Bob. Thanks for asking. How was your weekend?
Pretty good. Hey, I'm afraid President Trump is making the same mistake that he made in his first term, and he's allowing all of these creeps to walk off into the sunset. In my opinion, AOC is small potatoes, and he should go after the head of the snake, which, of course, is Biden, but that's not going to happen. But how about Mayorkas? And why isn't, I don't believe Mayorkas was pardoned by Biden. And I also believe that why wouldn't Mayorkas be like an accessory before the fact for all of these, hideous murders that took place to our citizenry based on his so-called, securing the national border. I think at this point Trump has to do something very dramatic, and I think something like that might be it.
Oh, I agree, Bob. Amen. Really, amen. Hallelujah. I'm with you all the way. I really would go after all of them. I really, really would. What we had was a criminal presidency, a illegitimate criminal regime. And I know you're not talking about this, but just to show you how criminal it was, it's now irrefutable. The evidence is irrefutable. There's no debating this. Many of the pardons, frankly, many of the pieces of legislation that Biden signed, but many of the pardons were done by AutoPen. And if you look at the AutoPen signatures, there's a discrepancy, a serious discrepancy in the signatures. It's not even the same signature. So Biden would be at Rehoboth Beach at his summer home, what he's doing in the basement, who knows, because he's so out of it. And they'd be signing pardons or pieces of legislation or executive orders in the White House. Now, that's illegal. I'm telling you, that's illegal. So someone else was signing on behalf of Joe Biden. And people know, it comes down to about 3 or 4 people. Everybody pretty much knows who did it. But the point is, his staff did it for him, which is illegal. And sometimes, and this is why if you look back, Biden would often say, I didn't do that. I didn't sign that. And, well, no, you did. Because I think many times he didn't know they were doing it behind his back. I'm not saying he's a nice guy. What I'm saying is he was so out of it. He obviously suffering from major dementia and such mental cognitive decline that they were basically running his presidency and he was just the puppet, the figurehead. So these signatures are all invalid and illegitimate. And everything that flows from it is invalid and illegitimate. By the way, including the pardons. So I so agree with you. And, get one. Just one. Can you get one? And again, they got Peter Navarro on nothing. I'm telling you, on nothing. Steve Bannon on nothing. They came so close to getting Trump on nothing. Case after case after case. They raided his home with guns blazing. They seized his property. The crimes they made up, literally fabricated to put him behind bars. I could go on and on and on. And you can't get me one? From all the crimes that have been committed by this administration? And so I think it goes back to your point about AOC. Jeff, she's small potatoes. Yeah. And small potatoes looks at big potatoes. And small potatoes says, if they didn't get big potatoes, what the hell are they going to do with me? So you see, because there were no consequences, and there have been no consequences, look at how more lawless and brazen the Democrats have become. Here, look, Brandon Johnson now, mayor of Chicago, that crazy moonbat. You can look it up. Don't take my word for it. You know what he now just told Tom Homan? If you bring your ICE agents to Chicago, okay, to Chicago, and arrest an illegal alien, an undocumented person, that's now the lingo, we're going to arrest your ICE agent. The illegal is no longer going to be arrested. The ICE agent who tries to arrest the illegal is going to get arrested by Chicago police. You're going to lose the country. You're going to lose the country. If this lawlessness and anarchy continues, you're going to lose the country. And Trump gave I thought, a very powerful interview. This was maybe 2-3 days ago. And he says, look, do you understand what these crazy rogue activist judges are now trying to do? He's like looking around like, what they're trying to tell us is that essentially we can't deport the most vicious, brutal criminals and terrorists out of our country. That if they illegally get in, we can't get rid of them. That's what they're essentially doing. Now, if this stands, he goes, you realize we don't have a country anymore. You're going to have El Salvador before Bukele. You're going to turn us into the murder capital of the world. You can't flood a country with this many criminals and gangbangers and murderers and fentanyl dealers and rapists and they can rampage across the country and we can't get rid of them. We don't have borders. We don't have sovereignty. We don't have rule of law. We don't have law and order. We've got nothing. Because they hate me that much. And I won on this very issue. I have a mandate from the voters on this very issue. Then we might as well just call it quits. Elections don't matter. Popular mandates don't matter. So some unaccountable, unelected judge that no one ever heard of in some low-level district is the de facto president of the United States? Then we don't have a constitutional republic. We have a judicial dictatorship. And the country is going to be torn apart. It's not going to work. It can't work. So, Bob, I'm not asking for arrests out of revenge. I get this from Kuhner country, just a few, but still. Some Kuhner country listeners, you're no better than the Democrats. You want revenge. You want retribution. No, I want justice. I've never said arrest an innocent person. I've never said fabricate charges, manufacture charges, and go after somebody. So it's wrong now to ask that traitors and criminals be held accountable for their actions? Well, they're going to scream dictator. They're already screaming dictator. So, I don't know. Here, again, over the weekend, latest poll, 3/4 of all Democrats now say they are living right now in a fascist dictatorship. A fascist dictatorship. So, according to them, they're already living under Hitler. So, who cares what they think? They're crazy. You don't listen to crazy people. So, I'm with you, Bob. He's got to pull the trigger. Mayorkas has to go to jail. He has to. Peter Strzok has to go to jail. Comey has to go to jail. Everybody involved in that Russia collusion, they've got to go to jail. Everybody involved in the stolen election of 2020, they've got to go to jail. Everybody involved in Biden's border invasion, they got to go to jail. Or else they're just going to continue to do it. They're not going to stop. So, to me, that's the question now. Who runs America? Is it we the people through our elected representatives? Or is it this rogue deep state? Whether it's in the judiciary or the CIA or the FBI. It doesn't matter. Do bureaucrats and judges run this country, or do we the people? That's the issue. Bob, thank you very much for that call. Gina in Waltham. Thanks for holding, Gina, and welcome.
Hi, good morning.
Hi,
I just wanted to see if I could. I already agree with some of your previous callers, but this just goes back to the biggest mistake we made long ago, which was accepting sanctuary cities, because I think that's where a lot of this stemmed off of where they think that they can just get away with all of this chaos that they're causing. And you know how I think Trump was discussing cutting off federal funding and stuff. I think your previous caller said something about follow the money and you had mentioned that for AOC. You know, this is the same person who hid under the desk and wasn't even in the State House, correct?
Yes.
During the January 6th riots?
Yes. She wasn't even in the State House, in Congress.
Caused panic, lied, and I don't even think she was reprimanded for it. And I would love to see how she's obtaining all this, money. It's easy for someone to say that, to defy and resist when she has all this protection, given to her, I think, on our taxpayer money. And, that's a whole nother ball game. That's all I wanted to say.
Well, no, Gina,
it's just
look,
different when they're provoking it, and she's getting paid security, and it's easy for her to say that. But now she thinks she's untouchable because she got away with January 6th.
You nailed it. No, you absolutely nailed it. Look, This is the other thing about her. She's disgusting in every level. On every level, she's disgusting and despicable. She was buildings away from January 6th. Okay? She was in half a mile away, almost a mile away? Okay, at least a block, if not 2 blocks away. So she was safe and secure in her office. She came out and said that she feared for her life and that people were rampaging on the hallways looking to kill her. Well, she wasn't at Congress. She lied. Nobody was looking to kill her. Nobody was rampaging down the hallways saying, we want AOC. And then she came up with this fiction that she hid under her desk and locked the door. Because if she didn't lock the door, they would have come in, kicked the door down, and God knows, raped and killed her. And the whole thing was absolutely made up. Nothing happened to her. In fact, she became a star on the left. A complete star. And then she's learning from Nancy Pelosi. You can get rich in Congress by using insider trading. Because members of Congress are privy to what's coming up in pieces of legislation. And there's so much money sloshing around, they realize, they're going to approve that drug? Ooh, I didn't. Public doesn't know for another 6 months. Let's invest in that stock. Ooh, we're going to put a lot more money into Raytheon? Really? Yeah. Big increase in the budget. That stock's going to soar. Let's get a little something for ourselves. So Pelosi has made hundreds of millions of dollars through her husband. It's her husband who buys the stock. But that family they're worth, $250 million? Elon Musk famously said it. No one on the face of the planet can pick stock better than Pelosi. He was being sarcastic. She's never wrong. Elon Musk said, I've never seen this. History of Wall Street. She never gets a single stock pick wrong. It's 100% every time. It's like she's got a crystal ball. Well, Sandy Cortez, AOC, is learning from Pelosi. She's got great stock picks. I'm telling you, Gina, if you need a financial advisor, a stockbroker, I would get Sandy Cortez. Because with her, you're going to make money. I mean, she'll tax, if she ever gets president, she'll take all your money away from you. But until she becomes president, you are going to make a mint. She's a crook. Like all these Marxist communist thugs, she's a crook and a thief. And you're right. She keeps getting away with it. That's why she gets more and more emboldened. Okay, to arrest AOC or not to arrest AOC? That is the question at 2 consecutive town halls on Friday and then just, 2 days ago on Saturday. She told a packed room if Homan wants to arrest her for giving advice, as she puts it, for criminal illegal aliens to evade arrest and capture by ICE, then bring it on. She says, I dare you. She says she's only giving constitutionally protected speech, telling illegals what their rights are under the Constitution. Homan and many others are saying she's concealing, harboring, obstructing federal law enforcement, and aiding and abetting criminal behavior. Throw the book at her, lock her up. The question now is, Homan says he wants to do it. He's gone to the DOJ for exact permission and advice. He's seriously considering it. But will Pam Bondi give him the permission that he wants? That's the question. 617-266-6868. Should AOC be arrested? And will Pam Bondi have the stomach to do it? What say you? Lines are jammed. Mark in Lowell. Thanks for holding, Mark, and welcome.
Hey, how you doing, Jeff?
Very good. How are you?
Oh, looking at a rainy day out here. But anyhow, as far as I'm concerned, she's broken her oath to the U.S. Constitution and defying federal laws. I don't care what the laws are. If she wants to change them through litigation. And until then, she should become a person who gets arrested for sedition and put away without lawyers or anything until the government feels it's necessary to prosecute her. That's how I feel about this. It's a standard thing, and didn't the Democrats do this to a bunch of poor souls on January 6th? Do the same thing to her, which is really a truth, versus those poor souls that happened on January 6th. Anyhow, that's my take on this.
Oh, Mark, look, I'm so with you. And I guess the follow-up question I have is, do you think there will be consequences for what she's done? Do you think that whoever it is, Bondi or her deputies or assistants or maybe Kash Patel, I don't know, the FBI director, but is someone going to give Homan the green light to slap on the handcuffs? Do you think it's going to happen?
Because they're all thanking for the midterms. And so I believe the day after the midterms, when the Republicans win, they'll do all this stuff without hesitation. But I think Trump is thinking about the midterms and making sure it stays Republican strong. And basically, I think that's the game they're playing, even though I think it's a game that is not worth playing. It's the best game is to make decisions now. Just like he said at the beginning of his term that the auto pen was all fake and all that litigation and all those pardons are null and void. But what has happened to push that forward? Nothing at this moment. So the question is, are they waiting to buy their time until after the midterms, or do they feel that this is not going to affect the midterms? And that's what they're thinking about, I'm sure. And it sucks, but it's true.
Interesting. I didn't even think of that. Mark, thank you very much for that call. So Mark is saying, look, Jeff, there's a political angle to this, or a political calculation that he feels maybe the Trump administration is taking. which is arresting a member of Congress. It could affect the midterm elections, really galvanize the Democratic base. Trump is thinking, let's win the midterms, and then we've got it all until 2028. If we're going to put people in jail, that's when we strike. So, do you agree with that strategy? And do you believe that is the strategy? 617-266-6868. Eddie in Charlestown. Thanks for holding, Eddie, and welcome.
Hi, Jeff. How you doing this morning?
Very good. How are you, Eddie?
Okay. Just a couple of things I'd like to say. First of all, she should be arrested like yesterday. She's breaking the laws, and like they say, no one's above the law. She should be arrested. I don't believe in the first caller. Why wait? You have to do this now. It's like a cancer. You have to cut it out and get rid of it. And you have to start now. We've been waiting too long. We waited 4 years for Biden to get over. Now it's time to strike, and strike hard. You're going to be blamed for being a dictator and this and that or whatever. Why wait? You wait, and if you lose the midterm elections, then we lost ground. So it's time to strike now. My opinion, AOC, and I'm calling out her whole district. She's a piece of garbage. The people that she represents there, they should be ashamed of themselves for sending a representative to Congress that acts the way she does. I heard the tape this morning that you said, and she doesn't care, or do I care? I haven't heard that expression since I was a teenager. Give me a break. She's disgusting. And I'm calling out the whole district that she represents. And prove me wrong, that district. Get rid of her. Because if you elect her, especially a senator from New York, then you people are really despicable and really sick. And
Eddie, I'm with you. I'm with you, brother. Look, I think the Democrats have a big decision to make. Okay, this is from, again, our constitutionalist correspondent out in Western Pennsylvania, Dave, saying, Jeff, don't forget, AOC is a member of the Democratic Socialists of America. She is a sicko, along with Bernie Sanders. They're both nuts, buddy. But that is very, very true. She is. You're right. She's a member of the Democratic Socialists of America, which is an avowed Marxist group. I mean, they're openly. I mean, it's, they're like, yes, we're communists. Yes, we're Marxists. That's what we are. That's what we believe. That's what we espouse. So this is now the darling of the Democratic Party? Ay, ay, ay. Ay, ay, ay. Now, what she has also said, she said it both Friday and Saturday, which is not getting the same kind of attention as to Tom Homan, I dare you, come and arrest me. Basically go ahead, make my day. I dare you. If you have, if you've got the intestinal fortitude to do it, I dare you, come and arrest me. She also has said, both Friday and Saturday, that the deporting and removal, and she cited specifically MS-13 and Tren de Aragua gang members. She said deporting Tren de Aragua or MS-13 is quote-unquote state-sanctioned kidnapping. State-sanctioned kidnapping. In other words, she's not just supporting MS-13 and Tren de Aragua over Americans. No. What she's now saying, you want to see how crazy this woman is? They're the victims. They're the good guys. They're the ones being kidnapped by evil Donald Trump and evil Tom Homan. So, murderers, terrorists, rapists, child molesters, wife beaters, human traffickers. How dare you remove them? This is a kidnapping. It's a kidnapping. And she says, A, we should not remove them, and B, those that we did send to that maximum security prison in El Salvador, bring them back. Bring them back. Ay, ay, ay. Ay, ay, ay. 617-266-6868 is the number, as she gives webinar after webinar, instruction after instruction to criminal illegal aliens how to avoid and evade arrest and capture by ICE. If you did it, you'd be in jail. If I did it, I'd be in jail. And Homan says to sanctuary city mayors that he's coming. He's going to arrest them. We'll see. And now apparently he's going to the DOJ, and he wants permission, the green light, to arrest AOC. Saying this is clear obstruction and clear, as he put it, harboring and concealing and obstructing federal law enforcement and aiding and abetting criminal behavior, which violates multiple sections of the criminal code. So, I'm sorry. If she's committing crimes, and she is, and if she's committing felonies, and she is, what's the problem? Arrest her. And I understand Mark's previous point. Maybe it's political. They want to wait till after the election. Sorry, the midterm elections, which, by the way, are not November of this year. They're November of next year. Notice, Merrick Garland didn't wait on the J6ers. Say what you want about Merrick Garland. I mean, what was it? They put 1,500 behind bars within a couple months. Most of them, no due process whatsoever. So they didn't wait. They didn't wait to go after Trump. They didn't wait to go after Bannon. They didn't wait to go after Roger Stone. They didn't wait to go after Peter Navarro. So when it came to Trump and his aides and his advisors, I mean, it was holy hell. They waged war. Our side, it's always wait and see. Let's wait. Let's see. Hold on. We don't want to rock the boat. You know, but we did arrest a couple of MS-13 members last week. Yeah, okay, but where's the big fish? Well, we got to wait and see. I'm tired of waiting. I don't know about you. I don't want to wait anymore. I want action. I want the Merrick Garland standard. That's what I want. That's all I want. How many did Merrick arrest? Okay, that's how many you arrest. That's all I'm asking for. Agree, disagree? Mark in Medford. Thanks for holding, Mark, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. The village just put out a missing persons report with a picture of AOC saying, "We want our idiot back." I mean, honest to God, Jeff, how the hell does she believe the words that are coming out of her own mouth? But you know what, Jeff? This is what the Democrat liberal moonbats do. They deny, they deflect, they accuse, they twist. They know exactly what it says in the Constitution, Jeff, if she read any of it at all. And it clearly states that, no, you don't have any due process if you're not here legally or a U.S. citizen. So this is what they do, Jeff. They deny everything. Actually, Jeff, they're deliberately being ignorant and deliberately ignoring the actual words of the Constitution. And yes, her ass should be in handcuffs yesterday.
Mark, do you think that, I agree with you completely. Should is should, but will is will. Will it happen? Do you think Homan will arrest her? Do you think Bondi will allow Homan to arrest her?
Well, if Bondi gives him the okay, then yeah, I think he has the cojones big enough to do it, and he should do it. Listen, you stole a little bit of my thunder, Jeff, before you took my call. You said, I just want to just switch this around for a minute. If this was the other way around, Merrick Garland would have 30, 40 agents knocking down half of Congress and the Senate's doors right now.
Well, that's true. I mean, I can't disagree with you. That's the amazing thing. If Republicans were breaking the law as flagrantly as the Democrats are, Garland would be locking them up one after another. I mean, the guy wouldn't blink. And instead, our people, hand-wringing, they're not sure, maybe not, we'll see, we have to talk to lawyers. Mark, in the end, when the dust settles, are we going to see any arrests? And in particular, are we going to see AOC in a jumpsuit?
Don't know. I want to say yes, Jeff, but I don't know how long we have to wait for it to happen. But if she's going to go on national television and say, if it's against the law for me to advise illegal criminal aliens how to avoid being arrested by ICE and say, come and get me, arrest me, okay, AOC, because what you're doing is aiding and abetting, and that is a crime.
And you're taunting. I mean, on top of it all, you know what I mean? Like you're practically begging for it. So, I mean, Homan is going to lose a lot of face. Bondi is going to lose a lot of face. If she's breaking the law and then she says, basically, nah. What are you going to do about it? Putting her thumb on her nose and just, here it is. I'm thumbing here. Here it is. And I'm mocking you. I'm making fun of you. You don't have the guts to arrest me. Jeez. I mean, Pam Bondi's got to step in. Come on. Are you the Attorney General or are you not the Attorney General? Mark, as always, great call. Okay. AOC now is obviously breaking federal immigration law. She says she doesn't care, and she's daring Tom Homan to arrest her. Should Homan arrest her? And maybe even more importantly, because he clearly wants to do it, he said it now multiple times, will he get the authority from Bondi at the DOJ, Kash Patel at the FBI to do it? Will he? Should he? 617-266-6868. Lines are jammed. Russ in Boston. Thanks for holding, Russ. And as always, welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. Thank you for keeping us informed every single morning. I cannot thank you enough.
Oh, my pleasure.
Look,
thank you, Russ.
Lock her up to all victims of crime. She's the leader of the Democratic Party, and she could care less about you. As far as she's concerned, if you're a victim, you can go to hell. That's what's in her twisted brain, okay? Now, truth, justice, and the American way must be revived. It's time for all people of goodwill to abandon the Democratic Party. The evidence is crystal clear. The Democratic Party is led by left-wing extremists who live by the old communist doctrine, divide and conquer, divide and conquer, divide and conquer, by creating total chaos. All they want to do is crucify our political savior, President Trump. But Jeff, what my biggest concern is the millions of brainwashed saps in the blue states like California and Massachusetts. In the Democratic Party and its comrades in the left-stream media will continue to dish out propaganda, deceiving its followers, and many of them will not smarten up.
Russ, what is your sense? You've got great political instincts. I know Homan wants to do it. He's given multiple interviews. You can see it. And frankly, it's not just AOC. He wants Brandon Johnson, that crazy mayor of the sanctuary city of Chicago. He wants the crazy mayor of Denver. He wants Michelle Wu. He wants these sanctuary city mayors behind bars. He thinks they're the root cause of this problem. He also wants AOC. Will he arrest AOC? Will Bondi give him the green light to do it?
Well, Jeff, let's put it this way. It all depends how much he keeps pushing them against the wall. And if he pushes them against the wall to an unacceptable level, they will have to respond. They have no choice. But at this time, Jeff, it's a crapshoot. I wouldn't bet either way at this point, truthfully.
Interesting. So you think it's 50-50? It could go either way.
Yeah, that's the way I feel. Yeah,
Interesting.
definitely.
Interesting. Russ, as always, thank you very much for that call. Look, that's the thing. You can look at you look at Homan's face. Here, in fact, look, this was him on Maria Bartiromo yesterday. I mean, you can see it on his face. It's every fiber in his being. He's like, man, I want to just put the handcuffs on her. And he's got the sections of the federal code already memorized that she's violating. And you can just tell, it's like, oh, this one's above my pay grade. Trump will let him loose on, MS-13 and Tren de Aragua and illegal aliens. But if you're going to go for a member of Congress, no, you got to check you got to check it out with the lawyers. Basically you need DOJ and the FBI to sign off on it. So that's why he's like, I got to go to DOJ. I got to get it. Basically I need a permission slip from DOJ because this is too high profile of an arrest. So listen now to Homan. This was him just yesterday on Fox with Maria Bartiromo. Roll cut 13, a mic.
She's continuing her resist efforts against your efforts, Tom.
Look, I forgot more about the Constitution, immigration enforcement as you ever know. I mean, I had to educate her during congressional testimony that entering the country illegally is a crime. So, whatever. But what she needs to do is read the statutes enacted by Congress. Title 8, United States Code 1324, United States. Title 8, United States Code 1324 and 25. That's what she needs to read, because it's illegal to enter this country. It's a crime to enter this country illegally. Not only that, when you harbor and conceal and impede law enforcement, that's a felony. So what she's doing, she says she's educating them as their constitutional rights, and we all know they got constitutional rights. But what she's really doing, you and I and the rest of the country knows, she's trying to teach them how to evade law enforcement.
He's saying she's committing crime after crime after crime. So Bartiromo then says, okay, well, what are you going to do? And listen now to Homan. Homan goes as far as he possibly can to saying she needs to be arrested. Here it is. Roll cut 13A. Mike.
Let's hope she's not educating the next person who gets out and murders a young college student in Georgia. I mean, these are bad people we're looking for. So she can call it education all she wants, but we all know it's about evading law enforcement. These people have been ordered removed. The people we're looking for right now have final orders. They're criminals. They're in the country illegally. A judge has ordered them removed. They become a fugitive. And these are the folks she's helping? So I've asked the Department of Justice to look at this. Where is the line on impediment? Where does that fine line so we can instruct ICE officers what they can do when people don't open the doors or try to evade their arrest? So I simply asked DOJ, give me a legal opinion, because every Department of Justice will interpret things differently. What is the legal opinion on impediment? And we'll see what happens.
Now, basically, when he says DOJ, he means, obviously, Pam Bondi and Kash Patel. In other words, like, guys, I want to do it. Here are the statutes she's violated. She's broken this law and this law and this law. And then he's basically saying, look, she's going to let a murderer out. Like, I'm telling you, she's going to help a murderer or a rapist evade ICE, and that person's going to strike again. So I want to do it. I need the green light. Will you, give me green. Right now it's red, maybe trending yellow. Give me green. I need green. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, to me, I think this is an open and shut case. You know, when he says, where's the line on impediment or on impediment? In other words, obstruction. I think she crossed it. I think AOC has crossed it a long time ago. And by the way, so is Kathy Hochul. So is Maura Healey. So is Gavin Newsom. So is Pritzker. So is Michelle Wu. So is Brandon Johnson. So is that crazy moonbat mayor of Denver. By the way, so is the mayor of L.A. So, I think there's a good collection of them there that clearly have broken the law. There's no question. So I don't understand. What are you waiting for? No one is above the law. Do it. Even if you don't want to do all of them, just do one. Pick one and make an example out of them. Am I wrong? 617-266-6868. Harry in Maine. Thanks for holding, Harry, and welcome.
Hey, Jeff, good morning. I was going to give you a fastball on this one. In my opinion, I think AOC is just, all it is noise. And you're just going to have to wait until May 15th, because I think that's the date the Supreme Court has taken the case up on the actions of these federal judges that have blocked these deportations. You may as well have substituted any of those federal judges, Boasberg and the rest of them, for AOC at those rallies on Friday and Saturday. It could have been coming out of their head, out of their mouth, just like it was AOC. It'd be absolutely no difference. And what it boils down to is due process or not. And the argument is whether or not illegal aliens have the same right to due process as a United States citizen. That's it. So she's got no downside here, Jeff. She's going to babble on. She's going to instigate. She's going to take the opportunity to grab the limelight while she can, because right now she's in the same side, same position as these federal judges. And until the Supreme Court makes a ruling, nothing's going to happen. And I'm with Russ. It's 50-50. It's going to go to the Supreme Court, and it's 50-50. I don't have confidence in this court. So I don't think she's doing anything wrong, quite frankly. Why can't she state as a citizen what your rights are? The question becomes due process and whether or not that is entitled to an illegal. Plain and simple, in my opinion.
Harry, let me ask you this, because to me, this is the part that's really changed under Trump's second term. What the Democrats used to argue was, don't deport the single mother. Don't deport the children. Don't deport, say, a family in which the father is working under the table and the mother is trying to provide for her kids. And now they've gone from the children, single mothers, families, don't separate families, to literally defending Tren de Aragua and MS-13, where in the same breath where she's taunting Homan, daring him to arrest her, she goes out and says, you don't even have the right to deport Tren de Aragua. These are state-sanctioned kidnappings. They have due process. They should stay. You shouldn't remove them. You shouldn't deport a single criminal. And they've turned this MS-13 gangbanger, human trafficker, wife beater, Abrego Garcia, into a freaking hero. What is it with the Democrats now that they have morphed into Dems 13? That they now are actively advocating and championing the cause of gangbangers and terrorists? I mean, am I missing something? Is there polling out there that shows the American people love terrorists, love gangbangers, and want them to remain in America? Am I missing something here, Harry?
No, you're not missing anything, Jeff, and I'll tell you exactly what's going on. They're painting this whole thing with a broad brush. That's all they're doing. So they're just being righteous and saying that, this is the way it should be for one and for all, whether they're good people, bad people, or otherwise. And until the law is changed or until it's interpreted, they're going to run on that. And they're going to say, okay, the next step might be, well, okay, we're going to come to our senses and maybe make a special law for people that are only convicted of felonies and have some type of a background that would involve some type of a felony or criminal offense, those will be the ones that will separate and will deport. I don't think they're that stupid, but I think at this point they're painting them with a broad brush, and we need to also. And that's where it's going to come down to a ruling by the Supreme Court. If you're not a legal citizen, are you entitled to due process? And unfortunately, it's going to have to be painted with a broad brush. And I don't really give a rat's behind if they're mothers, their children, or whatever. My grandparents came to this country through Ellis Island. They had to be sponsored, okay? And I know a lot of other people in the audience have the same situation with their previous generations that came to this country legally and who had to be sponsored and had to go through a specific port of entry. So I think it's going to come down to the Supreme Court. I would also say, one of your earlier callers said it, and I've called your show before and said it as well. In the meantime, while this gets delayed, there's a lot of other low-hanging fruit out there that I am disappointed that they haven't pursued. I'm hoping, I'm praying to God that they are pursuing it, and they're just doing it in a very deliberate fashion, and that Bondi wants to get her I's dotted and T's crossed before they lower the hammer. But Mayorkas is a clear example. That Captain Bird that shot Ashley Babbitt is another one they should be going after and investigating again. And there's a lot of low-hanging fruit. In that, I'm disappointed. I haven't seen that. The Epstein files, where the hell are they? Forget the JFK files. They didn't release the entire files. Where's the RFK files? Where's the Martin Luther King files that we were promised? Those should be out already. So that part of it's very frustrating to me, Jeff. I'm going to give Bondi another maybe 2 or 3 months, but come July or so, if we don't see the hammer start coming down, I'm with you 100%. They need to get somebody else in there that can do the job.
Harry, as always, thank you very much for your call. Very thoughtful caller. Always good stuff, Harry. 617-266-6868. David in Brookline. Thanks for holding, David, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff, from the People's Republic, where the image of AAOC, Airhead Ocasio-Cortez, is flying high over Coolidge Corner on a flag. Jeff, Airhead is fed lines, like many of these people, but you've covered most of my points, and one of them that I just want to reinforce is it's a combination of corrupt and greediness and mentally ill, whatever happens to them in the school systems or whatever. It's both. It's the lust for money and mental illness. But here's another question. How come these people, as they get wealthier, the areas that they represent get poorer and more run down? That's what I've always found amazing. And it's no different in her district. What has she done? If you listen to a lot of the comments, the people don't really like her. So how does she keep getting elected? You have to question the elections. Or they really are as naive as, as an earlier caller intimated. They just don't know any better. But again, you said it earlier. She learned from Nancy Pelosi. What was Nancy Pelosi's claim to fame? I may have this part not exactly right, but I think she was Miss Jiffy Lube as an 18-year-old, and her father destroyed Baltimore as the mayor of Baltimore. That was her claim to fame. And now she's worth, upwards of probably $300 million. Nothing happens. Well, I could go on and on and on.
You're completely right. No, look, David, and there's no question. Look, the Marxist attack plan, if that's what you want to call it, okay, and that's what Cortez is here to execute. That's what Bernie, Elizabeth Warren, that's what they are all here to execute. Open the borders, flood the country with illegals, give them our taxpayer money, free stuff, but we pay for it, and then corrupt elections. And bang, that's how you destroy a country. And that's how you make it a socialist country. And that's their plan. And look, to give the devil his due, they were executing it to a T until November 2024. And what they didn't see coming was Trump winning and coming back. And they didn't see us overwhelming, flooding the polls, 78 million, and taking this thing away from them. But, to them, the revolution continues. This is just a hiccup. And that's why Ocasio-Cortez is now saying, I'm the leader of the resistance. And how do you lead the resistance? You evade ICE. You ignore ICE. You defy ICE. You break the law. And you dare the DOJ to drop the hammer. And look, I'm going to do a story coming up next. You got to hear it, all of you. Trust me when I tell you this. This thing is like a cancer, and it's spreading. I don't just mean politically. It's spreading across the country in school boards, in high schools. You are not going to believe now the lawlessness, the open embrace of violence and terrorism that is now becoming so accepted. It's going to shock you, absolutely shock you. And so, thank you very much, David, on that call. Okay, so this is the problem in a nutshell. Lawlessness breeds more lawlessness. Hatred breeds more hatred. And opposition and fanatical opposition to Trump, when there are no consequences for criminal behavior that really now is starting to get into the territory of violence and political terrorism. Now, I've been saying this for a while. When you have no consequences, you encourage others to do the same. And that's why I use my cancer analogy. It's like a cancer. It starts to metastasize and spread and spread and spread. So listen now to this. This is a regional story that has now gone, when I say national, forget national, international. And I want to give a hat tip to the New York Post. They, and along with the Maine Wire, were the ones who first broke it. A deranged high school teacher in Maine, in particular, listen to this, a Waterville senior high school English teacher. Her name is Joanna St. Germain. Germain. She teaches English at Waterville High School in Maine. Went on an insane, deranged, unhinged rant on social media in which, listen to this. Now remember, this is a teacher. She called for the murder and assassination of Trump. She called for the murder and assassination of Trump's inner circle. And she called for the murder and assassination of every single Trump supporter in Maine, in New England, and across the country. And she went on to say, listen to this, that the Secret Service now needs to coordinate together and kill every single one of Trump's voters, fans, along with the president himself. Now, why? Because according to her, she says that by looking at the media and listening to the Democrats, these are her words, not mine, that we are now living in a fascist dictatorship. That according to her, Trump stole the election in November, that he is now abusing his presidential power, he has made himself a dictator, that he is disappearing Americans, and that according to her, quote, the Secret Service has the perfect opportunity if they choose to step up and take it, i.e. assassinate Trump. You are the ones with the power. Coordinate. Take out every single person who supports Trump's illegal, immoral, unconstitutional acts. And she says because he's now leading a fascist dictatorship, she says they now have a moral obligation to murder the president, to murder people in his cabinet, and to murder anyone who supports him. Quote, if you step up we can avoid a civil war. I'm not talking about assassinating a president. A president is a person duly elected by the American people. Trump has shamelessly bragged openly about stealing the election. He is making plans to give himself a third term. I'm talking about Americans recognizing a fascist dictatorship and standing against it. Now, she says that if she had their skill set, I would kill him myself. I would take them all out, meaning Trump's voters, myself. Now, she goes on to say, this to show you how crazy these people have become, how rabid, how radical, how fanatical. She says, oh, I know I may lose my job. Here, I'll tell you exactly what she posted. I posted knowing I'd likely lose my job and benefits. I'm not backtracking a single thing. I believe Trump and every sycophant he has surrounded himself with needs to die. And that she says that she is a fearless warrior for saying this and for urging the murder of Trump and the murder of everyone who voted or supports Trump. Now, you would think, right? You've got a teacher at a high school who is openly calling for the murder of the President of the United States. That's illegal. That's a crime. And then for the murder of every single Trump supporter. Now, by the way, I'm sure in that high school there are kids who support Trump. I'm sure there are kids in that high school whose parents voted for Trump and support Trump. So she doesn't just pose a potential threat to the president. She's not just calling for people to murder the president. She's literally posing a threat to her very students. And by the way, fellow teachers, fellow staffers, fellow administrators. I'm sure there's somebody at that school that probably voted for Trump. And to the parents of the students. So you would figure, I can't tell you how many red lines that she's crossed. You figure at a bare minimum, she should be arrested by the Secret Service. At least paid a visit by the Secret Service. But she's out of a job. If I threaten to murder anyone, I'm gone. I'm gone. Never mind, hey, anybody who voted for Kamala, kill them. Anybody whose parents voted for Kamala, kill them. Kill her. Kill Joey. Kill everybody who worked around. Kill Waltz. Kill them all. I mean, I'm so out of a job. It would be so fast, my head would spin. Your head would spin. Well, what? He was just on the air. What happened? 1 second later, what happened? What happened to Kuhner? He's gone. That's all you're hearing. There's no one's talking on the air. It's just, it's dead air. So, this is what the superintendent of the Waterville Public Schools said. He issued a statement. Okay? By the way, long story short, she still has her job. So, this is what he wrote. Okay? Listen to this. Please know that I have taken steps to ensure everyone's safety, and am along with the appropriate authorities actively investigating the incident. Okay? While I cannot comment on personal matters, I assure you that due process, there's that word again, and the safety of our students and staff are my highest priority. And he goes, I so appreciate everyone that's reached out to me about your concerns, and thank you for your understanding and support, I swear, as we work through this matter with care and responsibility. In other words, he's not doing anything. He's literally not doing anything. All right, so let me throw this log on the fire, as I like to say. Here you have this Maine English teacher, and she's openly calling Joanna Saint Germain is her name, and she is openly calling for the murder of President Trump and of all of his supporters and voters. And yet she remains employed by the school despite her really chilling and deranged remarks. I mean, there's just no other way to put it. So, and she teaches at Waterville High School. And, I mean, obviously some of the parents are livid. Many of the students are livid. Some of the staff members are in shock and horror. Many say they're afraid to even come into work. God knows she may go postal at any moment. This woman is a ticking time bomb. And yet this is what I mean. When you don't make arrests and you allow obviously dangerous criminal illegal behavior to fester and grow, then it's like a cancer. And it just spreads and spreads and spreads. And now it's becoming fashionable to openly call not only for the murder of Trump, which again is illegal. I don't want to keep repeating myself, but that is a crime. To me, this is where I don't get the superintendent. I'd be like, I'm sorry, look, you can't call for the murder of any president of the United States? First of all, you shouldn't call for the murder of anyone. For God's sakes, you're a teacher, okay? Number one, but let that go. It is illegal. I'm going to have the Secret Service breathing down my neck and your neck. You're out. Bye. We'll pack up your stuff for you. I don't want her near the students. I don't want her near me. I don't want her near the staff or the administrators. I don't want this lunatic working in my school. Would you want her working in your school? But then, it's not even just Trump. Anybody who supports him, anybody who voted for him, kill them all. And this one's like, I don't know if this is a fire. I don't know if this is a if this is a fireable offense. I don't know. People are entitled to their opinion. I mean, sorry, you laugh or you cry. I don't know. I say tomato, you say tomato. I mean, ay. So let me ask you, should this whack job teacher lose her job? Should she be fired? Should the Secret Service investigate her and arrest her? I say yes. Believe me, if any of you threatened Joe Biden and called for him to be murdered and all of his supporters to be murdered, oh my God, that Secret Service, I mean, you'd be like, this is incredible. I just hit send. And they're already at the door, kicking my door down? You'd be amazed at how fast they'd be at your house with a SWAT team arresting you. This one, it's been over a week. Nothing. That was last week. Nothing. And let me ask you all one final question. Are we now starting to see on the left, among Democrats, these liberal anti-Trump activists, are just a complete breakdown, psychological breakdown, nervous breakdown, moral breakdown, where calling for the open massacre, slaughter, and murder of Trump and his supporters, it's almost no big deal. You could tell when you run with that crowd, what she did is you're almost desensitized to it. And I think that explains the superintendent's response. I think you keep hearing over and over again, he's a fascist, he's a dictator, someone needs to kill him, someone needs to, murder or massacre his supporters. You keep hearing that over and over and over and over again. After a while, it's just like background noise or chatter. So, is she a domestic terrorist? And should she, this teacher, this Joanna Saint Germain, and should she be treated as such? 617-266-6868. Would you want her teaching at your school or your children's school or your grandchildren's school? And if the school refuses to act, and they are refusing to act, what would you do? Would you pull your child out of that school? I wouldn't want, I'm telling you right now, I'm a Trump supporter. I voted for Trump 3 times. So did my wife. And pretty much everybody in, my area knows it. If I had an English teacher at Ashton School or at Ava School vowing not just to murder Trump, but to murder Trump supporters, I'd pull my kid out of that school. I'd pull my Ashton and Ava out so fast. A, because I believe she poses a threat to them, and B, she potentially poses a threat to me or my wife. When we pick up the kids, if we come in for a parent-teacher conference, whatever it may be, someone like that has no business in school and no business near kids. Agree, disagree, lines are loaded. Ron in Cambridge. Thanks for holding, Ron, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff.
Hi, Ron.
I just want to make the point, I don't think anything's going to happen until the big, beautiful bill is passed. And then once that happens, let the deluge begin.
Ron, I really hope you're right. I really, really hope you're right. As you know now, they're talking about July 4th. That's the big date now. That's the deadline for that big, beautiful bill. So they were saying early spring, then they said Memorial Day, then they went to June, now they're saying July 4th. So we'll see. But basically, Ron, what you're saying, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but they don't want to upset the apple cart. Until Trump gets that magnificent bill done, which won't just, slash taxes, deregulation, unleash the economy, but it's going to give much more resources to really do a huge mass deportation, militarize the border, unleash energy dominance. So much of Trump's agenda is tied into that bill. So once that bill passes, it's almost as if you're saying Trump now can focus on everything else, correct?
I do believe that the message that Homan and Bondi are passing on is just that.
I really hope you're right, Ron. I want her to succeed. I want Kash Patel. Look, I was the one that was saying, 1-800-CASH, right? I want 1-800-CASH. Because the way Patel, the books he had written, what the interviews he had given, how he was going to lock everybody up, he was going to put the deep state behind bars, he was going to clean out the FBI, arrests were coming, high-profile arrests. I said, finally, we got a man who's willing to come in there and do what needs to be done. And, he roared like a lion. And then he got confirmed, and now he's meek as a mouse. Now, I like it that Bongino's is number 2, because I know Bongino's a man of his word, and he means what he says, and he says what he means. So I'm just hoping that they're working behind the scenes, that they're just getting their ducks in a row, and they're waiting for Donald Trump to give them the official go-ahead and to just drop that hammer. But I got to be honest with you, Ron. In the pit of my stomach, my gut, I don't think much is going to happen. I want to be wrong. I'll be the happiest man in the world if they prove me wrong. But my instincts are telling me I think we're looking at another Jeff Sessions. I think we're looking at another Bill Barr. I hate to say it, but that's my suspicion. So, Ron, please don't get me wrong. I hear where you're coming from. I hope you're right. I want to be wrong. I want you to be right and me to be wrong. So time will tell. Time will tell everything. Ron, thank you very much for that call. 617-266-6868. Let me ask all of you, do you think Trump is biding his time? Okay, this is a text from 508 and makes an absolutely great point. which I didn't even think of. By the way, the text line, 70470, 70470. Jeff, the minute AOC is either fired or indicted or arrested, a GoFundMe will be set up, and she will make more money than she ever has and ever would in her entire teaching career. So there you go. In other words, if you target AOC, and I think 508 is onto something, if you target AOC, what you're really going to do is line her pockets. You're going to supercharge her popularity with Democrats and on the left. They're all going to rally to her. They're going to set up these Go Send Go or GoFundMe pages for her, and she's going to rake in millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars. So, yeah, you think you're punishing her, but in reality, all you're going to do is turn her into a martyr and make her into a gazillionaire. I'm just curious. What do you make of that argument? I mean, to me, if you go after her, you put her behind bars. I mean, you know, you go for the jugular. But that's me. But the point is, politically, economically, financially, many of you are saying this would redound to AOC's benefit. So in that sense, don't do it. 617-266-6868. Many of you are saying go after John Kerry. Go after, I mean, there are so many other people you could go after. Go after Mayorkas. Go after so many others. But don't go after her. Because that's exactly what she wants. It will help her politically, and it will help her financially. Do you agree? Agree? Disagree? Bill in Medfield. Thanks for holding, Bill, and welcome.
Hi, how you doing, Jeff?
Good. How are you, Bill?
Good. One request before I get going with my spiel. Could you put Tuesdays Gone?
Steve, Bill.
Number one, you got to fire Bondi and Patel. They have to be fired now or by the end of the week. Number two, there's going to have to be some kind of networking going on amongst us mega people who are for America. They're for the United States, for mom and pop, for the flag, for the cops, for right and wrong. We're for God, they're for Satan. And number three, there's going to be a massive rally on July 4th in Washington, the Capitol again this year. No going wild and running into buildings and being conned. Just we're staying there for a month screaming. We want taxation without representation. We're not getting nothing. And my other point is, you know why nothing's happening? They've infiltrated the FBI. They've infiltrated the CIA, infiltrated the DOJ. They've infiltrated Congress in the House and in the Senate. They've infiltrated where they got thousands of millionaires and maybe even billionaires that are paying people to go wild. So they've got everything on their side. I think that Trump has to declare martial law within the next couple of weeks or a month, within a few weeks or a month. Declare martial law because it's like I got my finger and thumb near each other. We're this close right now to civil war, and there's no other way. We either have a law and order or we got no country. We either have a border or we have no country. And all of this happened because of all the people from my generation and forward were spoiled by their mother and father. They were given everything. They never cared about their grandparents, their parents. They never listen to the police. They drive 90 miles an hour, and they think they're entitled to everything, and that's where this all
Well,
comes
you nailed it. I think, Bill, look, when you know, entitled, the sense of entitlement, and I think it's destroying us as a country. And you see it with the Democrats. It's so obvious. Here, let's just take AOC. She's an entitled brat. That's what she is. She's an entitled brat. She thinks she's entitled to millions of dollars. She thinks she's entitled to be able to do whatever she wants, whenever she wants, without any consequences. The law is for Republicans. The law is for conservatives. Remember, she's the one under Biden who famously said, ignore every conservative judge, ignore every conservative ruling. You can look it up, please. Don't take my word for it. So whenever a district court judge or the Supreme Court or any judge ruled against Biden, she came out and said, ignore him. Blank him. Who are they? So, and now when conservatives are rightfully saying these activist district court judges have no jurisdiction, no constitutional legal authority to be ruling on what they're ruling on, fascism, this is an attack on the judiciary, on democracy itself. So, but just 2 years ago, ignore them. I don't say this lightly. She is the female version of Fidel Castro in America. She self-styles herself that. But this whack job thinks she's a revolutionary. All that's missing is the beret and a gun. Not that she would ever fire one, but just a picture of her with a gun. So she sees herself as a revolutionary, as this Marxist communist hero, leading the masses to this better socialist utopia future. She's got a serious screw loose. But ultimately, she's about power and lining her pockets. And look, she's urging lawlessness. She's urging openly breaking and defying federal immigration law. And now she's taken on the cause of Trender, Aragua, and MS-13. Now, if you deport him, it's kidnapping. It's sanctioned kidnapping, according to her. So, if this is who the Democrats want as their standard bearer, I mean, go ahead, it's your funeral. But make no mistake about it, they have now crossed the Rubicon. They flirted with Bernie. They're now marrying AOC. The Democrat Party has now become the Communist Party of America. Period. Full stop. And to me, that's treason. That's clear treason. 617-266-6868. Thank you very much for that call. Diane in Newton. Thanks for holding, Diane, and welcome.
Hi, Jeff. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes. Okay. Last night I watched 60 Minutes. The first 20 minutes was Scott Pelley interviewing this lawyer whose last name is Elias. And he was saying, this Elias guy was saying terrible, terrible, terrible things about Trump. And Scott Pelley was urging him on. And I guess Trump is suing some law firms that went after him before he became president. And the things they were saying was terrible. Trump is a fascist. Trump is a threat to democracy. Trump is this. Trump is that. And Scott Pelley was just urging this guy on. And people listen to this, and I know a lot of conservatives don't listen to 60 Minutes, but they should, because this is influencing the people like that teacher up in Maine who did that rant. I blame the media for all this. The things they were saying about Trump, I couldn't believe it. 20 minutes of vitriol. Terrible, terrible things about Trump. And I don't know how they can get away with this.
Well, I mean, just to reinforce what you're saying, Diane, Mark Elias is Hillary Clinton's hatchet man. He is one of the big legal architects of the Democrats stealing the 2020 election. He's a legend in Democratic circles. He is a rabid anti-Trump partisan. To me, I think he's a kook, if you want my honest opinion of the guy. But anyway, let that go. He was the one that went to Pennsylvania and got all the election law illegally changes. The election laws illegally changed. He went to Michigan. He went to Wisconsin. He went to Georgia. So he circumvented the state legislatures and either had the governors or the state Supreme Courts allow for all of this universal mail-in balloting, for the ballots to come in after the election, for them to continue counting for weeks and weeks until they got the winner that they wanted. This was all Mark Elias. He is a bottom feeder. He is a scumbag. He is a mercenary. He is a gun for hire. And the fact that Scott Pelley, by the way, I thought he was resigning. That was the big shtick he was making last week or 2 weeks ago, because one of their top producers quit, saying that CBS is putting the reins on these guys on 60 Minutes. And so Pelley was like, oh, my independence. Oh, I don't know if I'm going to work for 60 Minutes anymore. Yeah, he'll take the check. He always takes the check. That phony, that fraud. But anyway, let that go. Scott Pelley is a mouthpiece for the Democratic Party. 60 Minutes is a mouthpiece for the Democratic Party. And after what they did with Kamala Harris, where she bungled and bumbled answer after answer. In other words, she came across as herself, as an absolute buffoon. And then they edited it, they clipped it, they worked it up to make it seem semi-coherent and semi-intelligent in order to try to drag her across the finish line against Trump. It was direct election interference, and it was clear propaganda. So, no, Diane, I disagree with you. I don't think anybody should watch 60 Minutes. Their ratings are in the toilet. Nobody trusts them. They have no credibility whatsoever. Why give them the ratings? Why give them the eyeballs? If Scott Pelley wants to make a fool of himself and get this, insane, rabid never-Trumper, Elias, one of the dirtiest, most corrupt lawyers in the country, to go on about how Trump is Hitler and a fascist, go ahead. It's like they belong in a rubber room. People like that belong in a rubber room. They belong in the loony bin. I don't want to watch a lunatic. Who wants to watch a lunatic? So to even put Trump and Hitler, or Trump and dictator, or Trump and fascist in the same sentence, you're a lunatic. Honestly, you're mentally ill. You're a lunatic. I don't want to watch a lunatic, because as someone who knows history and knows a little bit of something about the Hitler era, if Trump was anywhere near Hitler, every media outlet banned, every journalist in a concentration camp, Congress shut down, the Democratic Party banned, the Republican Party banned, most politicians shot and murdered. That's just for starters. So this idea, and by the way, we'd be gearing up for war. We'd be making plans to invade country after country after country after country. Churches would be getting shut down. Jews would be getting rounded up. So I just wanted to put Trump and Hitler in the same sentence. You're either an absolute idiot, as the Russians would say, idiot, a complete ignoramus, or seriously, you got a real screw loose. I don't want to see it. I don't want to listen to an idiot, and I don't want to listen to somebody who belongs in a mental asylum. So I don't give 60 Minutes the time of day. To me, that's the problem. Don't watch them. Their ratings are cratering already. So let them go out of business. Let them go out of business. Diane, I'm telling you, this show has infinitely higher ratings than 60 Minutes. Our streaming numbers, the people that listen to this show around the country, 60 Minutes couldn't shine my shoes in terms of ratings. So why give them any help? When your enemy is going down, let him go down. Diane, final word to you.
You're right. You're right. And I really shouldn't watch it. But, sometimes I just want to know, what the left is saying. I couldn't believe the vitriol. I just couldn't believe it.
They're inciting a civil war. I'm not saying we're going to have a civil war. Please don't get me wrong. But they're inciting a civil war. And you are 1,000% correct, Diane. That's where that crazy Maine high school teacher, that's where she's getting all her ideas from. She watches this interview on 60 Minutes as an example, and she's like, oh my God, he's Hitler. Oh my God, he's a fascist. We're all going to die. We're all going to die. So then she runs on Facebook or wherever she goes to, at social media, and says, kill him, Secret Service, kill him, kill his cabinet, kill his supporters, kill the parents of my kids who voted for him, kill them. Kill the parents. Kill them all. Until we restore the Smith-Mundt Act, which was repealed by Obama in his second term, we are going to continue to have this kind of ceaseless propaganda on the airwaves. What you're listening to now, it's no longer news. It's not even analysis. It's propaganda. It's misinformation, disinformation, designed to foment hatred and paranoia. They're lying to us on purpose. Thank you very much for that call, Diane. I really appreciate it. 617-266-6868. CJ in Boston. Thanks for holding, CJ, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff.
Hi, CJ.
First, just let me say, for years I've been referring to the Democratic Party as the Democratic Communist Party. I think I think I need to give them an apology. The new updated name identification for them is the new Democratic Communist Revolutionary Party, because that's what they are. And to think with the 4th of July coming up, this country went to war over the taxes on tea. Yet the same Democrats here don't want these domestic terrorists to leave our country. To think that we went to war on numerous occasions and men and women died only for political differences. To have the Democrats now defend domestic terrorists. AOC, I believe Larry Falemis is right. You get her on a federal charge for using telecommunications to go across state lines to give legal advice to domestic terrorists on how to evade federal authorities and how to evade deportation in America. My opinion has always been, Jeff, as you know, that the constitutional rights and protections are only for United States citizens. You try going into another country without proper identification of proper paperwork. They put you on a plane and send you home. Here, right now in Massachusetts, they have a bill up there. They want to pass a bill to start paying for legal support for illegal aliens. If we're not in the hole enough, I believe it's about $3.5 billion. But I think Trump is making a mistake. Pam Bondi isn't the one to make the decisions. It's President Trump, and he should act. Because if he doesn't act on this now and he does what he did in his first term and sit back, then he's going to hurt any chances that J.D. Vance has for the presidency in 4 years and further down the line. However, if he's strong on this, then you at least 2020, I see J.D. Vance going in for 8 years and possibly DeSantis going in for 8 years. The Democratic Party, Jeff, as you know, it is the minority in this country. And you asked at the beginning of your show, why is it that they have so much strength? It's the mainstream media. It's the same reason why 8 years ago when Donald Trump walked down that escalator and announced his candidacy for the presidency of the United States, they realized they had a problem on his hands for one reason. He was a man who could not be bought. He was a man who loves his country. He was a man who was going to expose the corruption in America. And he's done that to a point, but he's stalled. He needs to move. Judge Bossberg just lost a big one by the Supreme Court, where they can send out these domestic terrorists and send them to El Salvador. So what Trump should be doing is send out the message to every low court judge, circuit court judge, that obstructs his ability to use the Alien Act to remove these terrorists from our country. He needs to arrest these people, because it's showing now, the Democratic Party is showing that as a minority, they're a majority, and they're still holding the power. They're holding the power because they're resisting. And what is the Republican Party doing? Absolutely nothing. They're doing nothing, and they're sitting on their hands. So just finally, to the people like that teacher up in Maine who wants to kill the president and kill people around, well, I have a suggestion for the licensing department up in Maine. The next time hunting season comes around, don't just put moose and deer on that list that allow people to hunt. Put on these Democratic terrorist supporters, put them on the list too, and you can help eliminate domestic terrorism in America.
Okay, my friends, couple lines are open if you want to jump on. 617-266-6868 is the number. This is from 617. You can text the Kuhner Man, 70470, 70470. Jeff, no doubt in my mind, the Democrat media is the number one influencer for Democrat ideology. And it's incredibly powerful. The platforms may be diminishing, but the ideology is pervasive and persistent. Weak minds fall into the trap. Just because something is called the news doesn't mean it's the truth. Bingo. And I gotta say, I think the most powerful asset that the Democrats still have is the media. Because it's still all pervasive. You can see many, many moonbats, Democrats, liberals fall for their lies, hook, line, and sinker. And that's why we have to smash the fake news media. I think there's no question. And look, let me just give you an example. President Trump now is saying we have to have law and order in the United States. And right away, the media is saying, fascism, he's a dictator, this is Hitler. No country in the world can survive without law and order. It's the basis of freedom, it's the basis of prosperity, it's the basis of civilization. No law and order, nothing else works. And so, President Trump is now saying, look, you won't allow me to deport these illegal aliens and criminals. Remember, these are people convicted of rape and murder. To a supermax prison in El Salvador. Well, I'll tell you what. I'm going to then start to either build new massive jails and prisons here or renovate and upgrade some of the old, outdated ones. And one of the most infamous is, of course, Alcatraz. Just outside of San Francisco, as you know, the famous prison surrounded by water, and made into a movie where it was almost impossible to escape from Alcatraz because even if you got out of the prison, nobody could survive the currents, the cold water. I guess there's some sharks even. So the few that made it out either died as they fell all the way to the ground, or if they managed to go into the water, they couldn't last more than 20 minutes before they died of hypothermia. Well, President Trump now says he wants to reopen Alcatraz. But obviously it was falling apart. Its infrastructure was decaying, and that's one of the major reasons why they closed it down. It was getting too old. Trump says, no. We're going to modernize it. We're going to renovate it. We're going to upgrade and revamp it. But we're going to bring it back. And we're going to send some of the most hardened criminals, both American and illegals. If you don't want me to send them to El Salvador, you don't want me to send them to Gitmo, I'll send them to places like Alcatraz. And if these animals want to try to escape, let the sharks in the water eat them up. Let them eat them alive. In other words, it's time to bring back some of those prisons where when you went to jail, it was hard time that you were serving. These were uncomfortable prisons with uncomfortable conditions, surrounded by menacing circumstances, in this case, an ocean, cold, very cold, by the way. And who knows what's in that water. So the prisoners knew they were on an island, and if they tried to even bother to escape, they were definitely falling to their doom. So my question to you is this. In fact, it's the Kuhner Country poll question of the day, sponsored by Mario's. Mario's Siding, Roofing, and Windows. Should Trump reopen Alcatraz? He now says he wants to reopen it. Is it a good idea? Do you support it? A, yes. B, no. I want to hear from you, Kuhner Country. You can vote on our webpage, wrko.com/Kuhner, wrko.com/Kuhner, KUHN is in national ER. You can also vote via X. I'm very active again like last night. My handle on X, all one word, at the Kuhner Report. KUHN is in national ER. Is it time to reopen Alcatraz? Now, many people are against it. Many liberals, many Democrats, many soft-on-crime advocates, saying that Alcatraz had a notorious reputation. There, the prison guards, the wardens, the corrections officers were known to be very brutal on prisoners, that the conditions are almost dungeon-like. People don't know this about San Francisco. It's cold. I know you're going to say, Jeff, it's Southern California. How the hell can it be cold? I remember, it's what, I'm sorry? Forgive me. In Northern California, but it's California. How can it be cold, Jeff? And, I remember I was in second year of my PhD program, and I had a professor from San Francisco. And he said, hey, Jeff, you want to take a couple days off in the summer, go to San Francisco? I said, I don't want to roast. I said, it's going to be so hot. It's going to be sweltering heat. It's California. He said, boy, you don't know San Francisco. He goes, I grew up in the Bay Area. He goes, no, it's actually quite cool. I go, really? He goes, yeah, especially in the wintertime, but even in the summer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, a lot of you expressing mixed opinions on reopening Alcatraz, which is where Trump wants to send really two classes of criminals. One, murderers, rapists, American citizens. They're not, I'm not talking illegals yet, but the worst of the worst. Send them to a dark, damp, cold, menacing prison surrounded by, ocean in the Bay Area, surrounded by water, and it's very isolating. Prisoners say it's very difficult to be at Alcatraz. So Trump says, to the worst of the worst, we need to send them to a notorious prison. So A, they pay for their they get punished for their crime properly. There's real justice meted out, and to act as a deterrent. He also wants to open up Alcatraz in order to send some of the worst of the illegals. MS-13, Trinidad. If I can't send them to El Salvador and I can't send them to Gitmo, then let me send them to Alcatraz. So many of you are expressing mixed views on this. This is from Mark on Messenger. Jeff, I'm all for reopening Alcatraz. In fact, it should be designated as the official prison for all corrupt politicians, judges, and DAs only. Although Fauci should be the first resident. And let them all rot together on the rock. So Mark says, you know what? No, Jeff. I want it for politicians. I want it for the corrupt DAs. I want it for judges and people like Fauci, corrupt bureaucrats. Send them all together. And you can suffer in Alcatraz. Dolores disagrees. Good morning, Jeff. No for Alcatraz. Send all of these criminal illegal aliens back to their own country. I don't want our tax dollars taking care of them. 617-266-6868. Okay. Should Trump be building these menacing supermax prisons here in the United States? And in particular, he says, Alcatraz, we're going to upgrade it. We're going to renovate it. We're going to make all the improvements that need to be made, but I want it reopened. Are you for or against? 617-266-6868. Kathy in Danvers. Thanks for holding, Kathy, and welcome.
Well, you sound much better.
Oh, thank you, Kathy. Slowly but surely.
Yeah,
the antibiotics, the medication is kicking in.
You sound great.
Thank you, Kathy.
I think Trump is doing a wonderful job. And as far as Alcatraz goes, yes, open it up. But I want to see them do one thing. I want to see them find out if there were actually 300,000 children missing under Biden's watch. I want to find out who took them, where they took them, how much money they made, and then throw whoever it is, whether it be NGOs, charities, throw them in Alcatraz. And as far as the Democrat Party goes, and the media, they have one question. Do they want to be cremated or buried?
Kathy, I'm just curious. Fauci, are you disappointed? I know Biden did this ridiculous preemptive pardon. It now looks like it was done by auto pen, which means it was an illegitimate, invalid pardon. I'm just amazed at how Republicans are refusing to go after Fauci. They're even afraid to put him under oath, where he can lie, commit perjury. In other words, there's many ways to go after Fauci. But they're almost taking the attitude, well, he's gone, so let him retire into the sunset. Is that the attitude that you think Republicans and the Trump administration should have?
Well, I think the Republicans in the Senate have a different ideals than the president does. They're not working with them. We know that. Are they complicit in something? I mean, that's the only positive, or that's the only thing I can figure out is why they aren't working with them. Why they aren't working for the American people? You know, I mean, we still have Obamacare. They're not on it. But I know my child has a family of four with a $4,000 deductible before her insurance kicks in. But Senate and Congress, they don't have Affordable Care Act. So, yeah, no, you know what? They're complicit in making money and not for the American people, where Trump is. And I'll say Marco Rubio is, too. Wow. That's it, you know, but I'd like to find out where the 300,000 children went, because
I'm so with
now
you.
that...
Oh, you're right. No, come on, look, I mean, these children were sold into slavery. They were trafficked. They've been molested. They've been raped. They've been abused. Where did, I want to know, and I want to know who bought them. I want to know if they're still alive. I want to rescue as many of them as possible. And I agree with you. Throw every single one of those people that engage in this human trafficking, this sex trafficking of children, throw the book at them, right into Alcatraz. Right into Alcatraz. Life, no parole, none. Kathy, thank you very much for that call. And let me just add one other thing. The Epstein files, because it all ties together. What's happened to the Epstein files? Okay, you don't want to arrest anybody. Well, how about release the Epstein files? What are you afraid of? Release the files. And again, Bondi's been sitting on it and sitting on it and sitting on it. And now it begs the question, what is she afraid of? 617-266-6868. And people that were involved with Epstein and what they did to underage children, they also should be sent to Alcatraz. Agree? Disagree? John in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, John, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff.
Hi, John.
Sorry to hear about your dad. I wanted to just call in because we're talking about funding the old prison, and I'm wondering, like, who's going to work there? We can't even fill our local jails with people. Nobody wants to work there. And who's going to want to take a boat over to work every day? It's going to cost us a fortune to run that place, probably. Just
you mean like use a ferry, to ride the ferry to go back and forth?
Right. I mean, we can't get people to work at the local Middlesex County and some of the other jails around here, especially in Rockingham. They're having a hard time recruiting people.
Well, look, John, I got to say, and I'm very happy you called. I really am, because, look, I love corrections officers. Please, I don't want anybody to think that I have any I'm disrespecting them. Quite the contrary. I say the same thing about corrections officers that I say about police officers. I don't know who'd want to do the job today. It's a very noble job. It's a very necessary job. It's a dangerous job. But under today's circumstances, I don't know who'd want to do it. Here, just to give you an example, and I'm sure you know this story better than I do. A couple days ago, in Virginia, okay, at a state prison, 5, not 1, not 2, not even 3, 5 MS-13 gangbangers in a deliberate, premeditated attack viciously stabbed three corrections officers. Some of them, by the way, they're never going to be able to function again. I'm talking, they're getting stabbed in the eye. They're getting their throat slit. And even if they recover, they wake up, crippled or with neurological disorders because they've lost so much air or blood flow. What I'm saying is, 3 of them were viciously attacked by MS-13. These are the kinds of animals that we have in our prison system. Mike was just asking me off air, well, Jeff, what if AOC wins the election in 2028? Or, Gavin Newsom or whatever, some crazy moonbat. Did you ever think that if, they reopen Alcatraz, that the Democrats may send you to Alcatraz? Under the guise of, I don't know, you're a political terrorist now? You're a threat to the Republic? I'm like, Mike, I didn't think of that. He goes, I'm just saying, you could be doing the show. It's no longer Jeff Kuhner's Boston Bulldozer. Could be Jeff Kuhner from Alcatraz, the Rock Breaker. He goes, I'm just saying. I said, Mike, when you phrase it like that, maybe I am against the reopening of Alcatraz. Hey, I couldn't do a week I'm telling you, I couldn't do a week in any prison. What week? I couldn't do 24 hours in any prison. And I mean the most minimum security prison imaginable. As I told Mike, I go, Mike, hey, whoa, Mike, I'm no tough guy. In prison with those guys, they'd eat me alive. What, are you crazy? Never mind Alcatraz. I confess, whatever. What do you want me to confess to? I'll confess. I'll sign anything. Just don't send me. 617-266-6868. So, I'm not so sure now that I want to reopen Alcatraz. Kathy in Rochester. Thanks for holding, Kathy, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff.
Hi, Kathy.
I tried to go on your poll, but I'm not on X, so I wasn't able to vote. But he can open Alcatraz, but I think putting politicians and putting Fauci there is a great idea. But as far as the illegals, I say no way. And those illegals that stabbed prison guards, they should get the death penalty. What we need to bring back is the death penalty, because I, for one, do not want to be paying for these creatures to be in any facility whatsoever. It's too costly. We don't have the manpower. We shouldn't have to subject prison guards to these animals. And I hate to say animals because I love animals. Animals are so intelligent. To these scumbags, I guess is a good word for them. But the death penalty, the death penalty really will curb any kind of criminals, because they think about, whoa, I could get killed if I get caught doing this. And they'll come to a complete halt. So, we voted for the death penalty in this state. And again, our politicians did not instate it. So once again, they go against the wishes of the voters. In this state, I don't know, did you see Stephen Lynch, a rally that he had in Quincy for American workers? These Democrats, they are just insane. They do nothing at all. Here's Donald Trump wanting to bring back jobs to the United States, and it's like, Stephen Lynch, what are you talking about? Where is your mind?
Well, Lynch sold his soul a long time ago. I'm being very frank. Lynch is someone who took the money, claimed to be a pro-life Democrat, abandoned every principle he had. He was supposed to be a blue dog Democrat, a moderate pro-life Democrat, and he went where the wind blew, and the wind blew to the radical left. And so that's Stephen Lynch in a nutshell. But no, Kathy, I think your larger point is 1,000% spot on. I think mass murderers, gangbangers, and terrorists deserve the death penalty. And I think illegal aliens in particular, MS-13, Tren de Aragua, if you won't let us deport them, fine, we'll hang them. I'm sorry, this is getting ridiculous. And, well, why not incarcerate them? Well, ask those prison guards in Virginia. And, again, I want to stress this. This wasn't even like some kind of a jail brawl, some kind of a crazy prison fight. And then the guards tried to break it up and they accidentally got hurt. No, it was a premeditated attack. And they targeted 3 of these guards at that state prison. And they were viciously, repeatedly, brutally stabbed. These people are savages. They're savages. They're not reformable. That's what the Bukele from El Salvador keeps saying. What do you mean rehabilitate them? Have you ever met one of them? If they could eat you, they would eat you. He goes, no, 100 years, no parole in jail. That's our sentence in El Salvador. And they hate the conditions, and that's why they've cleaned up crime. Well, okay, we don't want to do that. I agree with you. The electric chair. And it's going to be a deterrent, and we're going to save a lot of money in the process. And, my dog Rocky, no, really, I was just playing with the Rockster all weekend. Wouldn't hurt a fly. You're right. Comparing them to animals is an insult to animals. Rocky would never bite someone, never mind stab them, I know a dog can't stab, but you know what I mean. Seriously hurt someone, kill them? No, he'd lick you to death. He'd want to play with you to death. So I agree with you. Criminal, illegal aliens who commit murder and rape, the electric chair. Bye-bye.